I think what makes the film maybe like to a sensitive audience scary is that we didn't try to make a horror film, but we tried to stay true to a person who has actually lived and to her life story. And we read like this the woman the film is based on, she was interrogated like in court several times, and she tells the story of her life, and we tried to stay true to that. And her life doesn't fit like into the structure of a horror film, so I think it's somewhat unexpected, and this makes it feel more real. And like we had versions of the film and the script that were conceived as a courtroom drama or as a horror film, but we felt both versions wouldn't do justice to this actual woman's life story and the inner horrors that she experienced. And actually, it's a film about the inner horrors of somebody who has actually lived, and we try to stay true to those. And I think this actually makes it very scary because depression and the depression she suffered is actually a very scary thing. Like what we tried to do with that film is we basically did everything that you're taught in film school never to do. So we had a film with a passive character. Of course, that's something you should never do, and you should never work with kids and animals. And like we always do stuff like that because we like the unexpected. And in this film, we tried to introduce. An amount of chaos into like a very rigid film shoot. So I think like the wedding party at the beginning of the film is a real party. So the musicians were not only playing for the takes, but they were playing throughout. All the crew was in costumes. Nobody knew where the camera was. There were drinks, there was food. It was just a real party, and nobody knew what was going on. And the sound guy it was the second day of the shoot, and the sound guy said like, "Oh, I never knew I signed up for a historic documentary." And that was actually a great compliment because we tried to introduce those moments of chaos, to introduce real life to the film. And this is like, I think, adding to the atmosphere you described before.
I mean, reality is always scarier than fiction. That said, we share the opinion of most of the horror filmmakers that kind of we want to tell about reality and about taboos in our society through horror movies. So for us, as we said, it's like a inner horror movie. So we are talking about like the taboo of depression or the taboo of suicide, because it still is, and lots of people suffer from depression. There were like recently came out statistics in Germany that every second human being suffers from depression once in their lifetime, and because it's so hard to diagnose, they don't even know. So they suffer from that and don't know what to do about it. So yes, it's we want to mirror kind of society, and we as it makes no sense to make a historic film as a museum piece. We wanted to talk about our days, of course, through this kind of movie, and also, of course, about women and the pressure they are under in a very rigid society. We liked very much the idea of a feminist movie where women are kind of victims of their society, but also at the same times they are murderers. So, I mean, women are not holy. I mean, they were suppressed for a long time, and they can be heroes, of course, and they are heroes, but they also at the same time can be murderers. And we like to face those truths.
So I think you need to um, create an environment where the actor thinks or realizes something and then out of his own free will does something. And I think it's the same for movies. So if movies tell you what to think, you will never fully believe it because you realize the intent. But our film is just like a canvas, like to discover and to fill with emotion, like by spectators. And I think this is like the only way to fully realize something about life, because the film is specifically not telling you what to think.